Hey everyone, welcome back. And today I want to talk about revisiting Fomapan 400. And when I first started back with the film photography in March of 2020, I primarily started with an ME Super and a K1000. And those two cameras I used for, probably just a little over a year. And I primarily shot 100 and 200 speed film in both of those cameras. And occasionally I would shoot some 400. I would shoot I definitely would shoot a little bit of this, the Fomapan 400. I shot some Kentmere 400, and I also shot some HP5. But again, I gravitated more towards Fomapan 200. And really over this course of the time I started going back into doing this, the Fomapan 200 really has been my go-to film when shooting it in a 35mm SLR camera. I'd say probably 70% of the time, that's the film I use in my SLRs. But over the course of time, within, I'd say probably a year and a half ago, I added cameras such as the Agfa-Photo 35mm reusable camera. I added a lomography sprocket rocket, and I also, a little over a year ago, picked up a Rollei 35S and a Rollei 35. And because of these three cameras, I kind of gravitated more to 400 when I use these cameras. And the reason why is the lenses on both these small plastic cameras are very slow. This one has an f9 lens. This one has an f10.8 and an f16 setting. So again, the lenses are really slow. So I really don't shoot with anything slower than 400 in these cameras. Then I added the Rollei 35. And because of the zone focus setup and that's the way I use it when I take photos with this, I prefer a higher speed film to give me a wider depth of field so I can get a greater zone of area that's going to be in focus. I occasionally will use some 400 in my SLR, but again, I normally stick to the Fomapan 200. But for these cameras, I started shooting some HP5, which I really liked a lot, and then I really, really liked Rollei RPX. In fact, Rollei RPX400, I have some here, and I also have a 100-foot bulk load of it. So for my 400 speed film, Rollei RPX has really been my go-to. And for my medium to slower speed film, the Fomapan 200. And again, Fomapan 200 can be a little bit grainy, but it's a nice sharp film. It has good tonality, especially for the developers that I use for the films that I shoot. And the developers that I use Clayton F76 Plus. I normally use a 1:9 dilution for this developer. And I also have started using some Rollei Super Grain. That's a 1:12 dilution I use. And I've gotten some really nice results with all the different film speeds, whether I'm shooting some 100, 200, 400. But again, as I gravitated to 400 because of these type of cameras, I started leaning more towards HP5, and then again, I've really taken a liking to RPX 400. But as we all know, that the price of those films have really started to go up. So I decided to go back and revisit Fomapan 400. So price being a factor now, I went out and I bought, just about a dozen rolls of Fomapan 400. And over the last few weeks, I've shot maybe 6 to 8 rolls of it. I've shot film in the Rollei 35. I've shot some film in the Sprocket Rocket. I've shot some Fomapan 400 in the Agfa-Photo camera. And I've even shot a roll or two in my K1000. I ended up shooting 9 rolls of Fomapan 400 in the 4 cameras that I previously mentioned. So I went ahead and I developed the film. I scanned the negatives, and then I edited the photos. And the developer that I used were the 2 developers that I spoke about earlier. And so now I want to show you some of the photos. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a description at the bottom of each photo, which camera I used and which developer I used. So I hope you enjoy the photos. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if so, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. And once again, I thank you so much for viewing, and I'll catch you on the next one.